The intriguing encounter. Alex adjusted his translator device as he walked through the bustling marketplace of Cathara, a colony known for its peaceful coexistence of humans and aliens. The air was thick with the scent of spices and the hum of alien chatter. Brightly colored fabrics hung from stalls, and merchants called out in languages Alex couldn't begin to decipher without his device. It was his third month on the planet, yet the sheer variety of life still amazed him. Today, however, something, or someone, was about to change his ordinary day. As Alex stopped by a stall selling shimmering alien trinkets, a voice called out to him, soft yet commanding, "Human, you are Alex, correct?" He turned, and his breath caught for a moment. Standing before him was Kyra, a diplomat from the Elveri species. She was taller than him, with iridescent blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the sunlight. Her silver eyes held an intensity that made Alex feel as though she could see through his very thoughts. "Yes, that's me," Alex replied cautiously, wondering why someone of her stature would seek him out. "How can I help you?" Zara stepped closer, her movements fluid and graceful, as though she floated rather than walked. "I have a request, and I believe you are uniquely suited to assist me." Alex raised an eyebrow, intrigued but wary. What kind of request? Her gaze didn't waver. "I need you to show me how humans express love." Alex blinked, unsure if he had heard her correctly. "I'm sorry, what?" Zara's expression remained serious. "Love, affection, connection. Your species is known for these emotions, and I wish to understand them. I've read every study, watched every recording, but it is not enough. I need a first-hand experience." Alex stared at her, his mind racing. Of all the things he expected to hear, this wasn't even on the list. Why me? I'm just a researcher. Surely there are others more qualified to, teach you. You are one of the few humans who have integrated into our society. Zara explained, tilting her head slightly. You are approachable and seem to embody the qualities I wish to study. Besides, she added with a faint smile, you are the only one who didn't immediately avoid me when I approached. Alex chuckled nervously, still unsure how to handle the situation. I'm flattered, I guess. But love isn't exactly something you can explain in a step-by-step way. It's complicated. Then show me, Zara said simply, her tone leaving no room for argument. Alex scratched the back of his head, feeling the weight of her expectation. Look, Zara, love isn't just one thing. It's different for everyone. It's not something you can learn in a single day. That is precisely why I seek your help, Zara said, her silver eyes softening just enough to reveal a hint of vulnerability. My people lack the depth of connection your kind possesses. We form bonds, yes, but they are functional, not emotional. I wish to understand what makes love so powerful. Alex sighed, feeling both flustered and intrigued. Part of him wanted to walk away. This wasn't exactly his area of expertise, but another part couldn't ignore the sincerity in her voice. He had spent months studying alien cultures, trying to bridge the gaps between their worlds. Perhaps this was just another step in that journey. All right, Alex said finally, surprising himself. I'll try to help you, but no promises. It's not an exact science. Zara's face brightened, a small but noticeable change in her usually stoic demeanor. Thank you, Alex. Your cooperation means more to me than you realize. As they walked together through the marketplace, Alex couldn't help but feel a mix of curiosity and unease. What exactly had he just agreed to? And why did Zara, a high-ranking diplomat, seem so determined to unravel the mystery of human emotions? The day carried on with Alex introducing Zara to small gestures of affection. He explained the meaning behind a smile, the comfort of a friendly touch, and even the importance of shared laughter. Zara absorbed every detail with an intensity that was almost unnerving. At one point, she paused, her silver eyes locking onto his. Does love always make humans so vulnerable?" she asked, her voice quieter now. Alex hesitated, caught off guard by the question. "Yeah, it does," he admitted. "But that's what makes it special. You can't have real love without taking a risk." Syra nodded thoughtfully, her expression unreadable. "Perhaps that is why it eludes my people. We fear vulnerability." Alex couldn't think of a response. Instead, he simply walked beside her, wondering what he had gotten himself into, and why he felt a growing connection to the alien woman who had just turned his world upside down. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Alex realized this encounter was only the beginning. Whatever Syra sought to learn, it was clear this journey would be anything but simple, cultural exchange or something more. The days following Alex's agreement were unlike anything he had ever experienced. Syra was relentless in her quest to understand the intricacies of human affection. She approached the subject with the precision of a scientist and the curiosity of a child discovering a new world. Alex, on the other hand, was beginning to realize just how challenging it was to explain something as abstract and deeply personal as love. One afternoon, Syra invited Alex to her residence, a sleek, crystalline structure that glimmered under the dual suns of Cathara. Inside, the decor was minimalistic yet elegant, with smooth surfaces that seemed to pulse faintly with energy. Alex marveled at the alien technology, but couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place. Syra gestured for him to sit on a peculiar floating seat that adjusted to his weight as he sat. "Today," she began, "I wish to understand human bonding rituals. I have read about what you call sharing meals. It is said to be a fundamental act of connection among your kind." Alex chuckled. "You mean eating?" "Yeah, it's something we do all the time, but it's more about the company than the food." "I see," Syra replied thoughtfully. "In our culture, sustenance is consumed individually. The concept of eating as a social activity is foreign to us." Moments later, an alien servant brought out a tray of food, an assortment of brightly colored fruits and delicacies that looked more like works of art than something edible. Syra picked up a small glowing sphere and held it out to Alex. "Please, show me how this ritual is performed." Alex hesitated, unsure of how to explain something so natural. "It's not just about eating. It's about talking, laughing, and enjoying each other's company while you eat. Here, try this." He picked up a piece of fruit that resembled a translucent pear and handed it to her. Syra bit into it delicately, her expression shifting from surprise to satisfaction. "This is pleasant," she admitted, "but how does this foster a connection?" Alex grinned. "Well, for starters, you're sharing something, and when you talk while eating, you get to know the other person better. It's a way of showing you care about their presence." Syra considered his words, then said, "In that case, tell me something about yourself, Alex, something you have not shared before." The question caught him off guard. He wasn't used to being the one under the microscope. After a pause, he said, "I guess I've always been fascinated by the unknown. That's why I came here. I wanted to see how other species live, think, and feel." "And what have you learned so far?" Syra asked, her silver eyes studying him intently. Alex smiled wryly, "That no matter how different we are, we all have things we want to understand, things we fear, and things we care about." For the first time, Syra's expression softened into what Alex could only describe as genuine warmth. Perhaps humans and Elveri are not so different after all. Later that evening, Syra led Alex to a quiet garden filled with glowing flora that seemed to hum softly in the breeze. "Now," she said, "I wish to understand another aspect of human affection. Physical gestures. I have observed humans embrace one another. Explain its significance." Alex rubbed the back of his neck, feeling a little awkward. "You mean hugs. They're a way to comfort someone or show them you care. It's about closeness." "Show me," Syra said, stepping closer. Alex hesitated, unsure if this was crossing some invisible line. But Syra's expression was calm and expectant. Slowly, he reached out and wrapped his arms around her. Her skin was cool to the touch, and for a moment, she stiffened. Then, almost imperceptibly, she relaxed. "This is different," Syra said softly, her voice barely audible. "It feels grounding." Alex pulled back, feeling his heart race slightly. "Yeah, it's supposed to. It's like saying, 'I'm here for you,' without words." Syra nodded, her gaze lingering on him longer than necessary. "Thank you for sharing this with me, Alex. It is enlightening." Over the next few days, their cultural exchange deepened. Alex introduced Syra to human music, laughter, and even the concept of teasing, which she initially found baffling, but eventually came to enjoy. In return, Syra shared insights about her people's logical but emotionally reserved way of life. The more they talked, the more Alex realized just how deeply Syra yearned to experience something her culture had long dismissed as unnecessary. But beneath the surface of their interactions, something else began to stir. Alex couldn't help but notice the way Syra's gaze lingered on him, the way her voice softened when she spoke his name. And he, too, felt a growing pull toward her, a connection he couldn't quite explain. One evening, as they watched the twin moons rise over the horizon, Syra turned to Alex and said, "Human emotions are far more complex than I imagined. They are not merely learned, they are felt. And yet, I find myself wanting to feel more." Alex's breath caught as her words hung in the air. This was no longer just a study of cultures. This was something far more personal, far more profound. And as the night deepened, Alex realized that he was no longer just teaching Syra about love. He was beginning to feel it himself. The unexpected experiment. Syra stood in the center of her residence, her silver eyes gleaming with a mix of excitement and determination. Before her, a table was meticulously set with various objects, small gifts, holographic images, and even what looked like a glowing alien flower. Alex, leaning against a nearby wall, looked at her with a raised eyebrow. "So, what's all this?" he asked, motioning toward the table. Syra straightened her posture, exuding an aura of quiet authority. "These are offerings. In my research, I discovered that humans often exchange gifts as a way of expressing affection. I wish to understand this custom firsthand." Alex couldn't help but chuckle. "You don't waste any time, do you? Affection is not a subject to be delayed," Syra replied, her tone serious. "Now, you must choose one." "Choose one," Alex echoed, stepping closer to inspect the array of items. Each object seemed uniquely crafted, with intricate designs and shimmering materials he couldn't identify. He picked up the glowing flower, its petals radiating a soft, warm light. "This is pretty incredible. What is it?" "It is a livenous blossom, a rare flower that blooms only once every 5 cycles," Syra explained. "It is traditionally given to signify deep respect and admiration." Alex placed the flower back gently, feeling the weight of her words. That's a lot of meaning to pack into a gift. "Indeed," Syra said, her gaze steady. "Now, what would you offer me in return?" Alex blinked, caught off guard. "Wait, you want me to give you something?" "Of course," Syra replied. "Reciprocity is essential, is it not? That is what your customs suggest." Alex scratched his head, glancing around the room for inspiration. He didn't have anything remotely as elaborate as the items on the table. Finally, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, slightly battered notebook. "Here, it's nothing fancy, but I use this to jot down my thoughts and sketches. It's personal." Syra accepted the notebook carefully, her expression unreadable. She flipped through the pages, pausing on a sketch of the marketplace they had visited days ago. "You created this?" "Yeah," Alex said, feeling a bit self-conscious. "It's just something I do to pass the time." Syra looked up at him, her silver eyes softening. "This is more than a simple gift. It is a part of you." "Thank you, Alex." For a moment, the air between them felt charged with unspoken understanding. Alex cleared his throat, breaking the silence. "So, what's next on your agenda?" The following day, Thyra approached Alex with another request, one that was even more unexpected. "I wish to experience the human custom of dancing." Alex nearly choked on his drink. "Dancing? Seriously?" "Yes," Thyra said firmly. "In my studies, I have observed that dancing is often associated with joy, bonding, and even romance among humans. I must understand it." Alex couldn't help but laugh. "Well, it's not exactly something you can just study. It's more about feeling the rhythm and letting go." Thyra tilted her head, clearly intrigued. "Then you will guide me." Before Alex could protest, she activated a holographic device, and soft, melodic music filled the room. Thyra stepped forward, her movements graceful yet hesitant. "What do I do?" Alex sighed, placing his drink down and stepping in front of her. "Okay, first, take my hand." She did so, her fingers cool and delicate against his. Alex felt a strange mix of nervousness and curiosity as he guided her other hand to his shoulder. "Now just follow my lead." The music swelled, and Alex began to move, leading Thyra in a simple, swaying rhythm. At first, her movements were stiff, as if she were analyzing every step. But gradually, she began to relax, her body flowing with the music. "This is unusual," Thyra murmured. "It is as if the music dictates the connection between us." Alex smiled. "That's kind of the point. Dancing is a way to express yourself without words." They continued to move, the space between them shrinking as Thyra grew more confident. Her silver eyes locked onto Alex's, and for a moment, the world around them seemed to fade away. When the music ended, Thyra stepped back, her expression contemplative. "That was enlightening," she said softly. "Thank you for sharing this with me." Alex nodded, his heart pounding for reasons he didn't fully understand. "No problem." As the days turned into weeks, Thyra's experiments became increasingly personal. One evening, she presented Alex with a question that left him speechless. If love is about connection, how does one know it is genuine? Alex hesitated, searching for the right words. "You just feel it. It's like a pull, something you can't explain but know deep down." Thyra considered this, her gaze unwavering. "And do you feel this pull with anyone here?" Alex opened his mouth to respond but stopped. The truth was, he had begun to feel something, a connection he hadn't anticipated. But admitting it felt like crossing a line he wasn't sure he was ready for. He began, his voice uncertain. "This isn't just an experiment for you anymore, is it?" She looked away, her composure slipping for the first time. "No, Alex, it is not." Her honesty hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. Alex realized then that this wasn't just about teaching Thyra about human affection. It was about discovering something neither of them had expected, a bond that defied the boundaries of their worlds. Misunderstandings and clarity. The next morning, Alex found himself seated at a low table in Thyra's residence, nursing a cup of steaming, purple-hued liquid that tasted faintly of berries. The room's crystalline walls glowed softly, casting a calming blue light over the scene. Thyra had called him over for another lesson, but her cryptic invitation left him curious and slightly wary. As Alex sipped his drink, Thyra entered the room, holding a small metallic device that looked like a bracelet. "Alex," she began, her voice formal yet tinged with eagerness. "Today we will explore a concept I have observed in human interactions: humor." Alex nearly choked on his drink. "Humor? You want to learn about jokes?" "Precisely," Thyra replied, her silver eyes gleaming with determination. "Humor appears to be a vital component of human bonding. I wish to understand its function and application." Alex smirked, leaning back in his seat. All right, humor isn't something you can just study like a textbook. It's about timing, context, and knowing your audience. Some jokes work, and some don't. Then you will demonstrate, Tyra said, seating herself across from him. Okay, Alex said, racking his brain for a simple joke. Why don't scientists trust atoms? Tyra tilted her head, her expression serious. I am uncertain. Why? Because they make up everything, Alex said with a grin. Tyra blinked, her expression unchanging. I fail to see the humor. Atoms are indeed the building blocks of matter. This is a factual statement, not a comedic one. Alex laughed despite himself. That's the point. It's a play on words. The idea is funny because it takes something serious and twists it. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. I see. Humans find amusement in unexpected contradictions. Something like that, Alex replied, still smiling. But humor is also personal. What makes one person laugh might not work for someone else. Tyra leaned forward slightly. Then perhaps I should attempt a joke. Alex gestured for her to go ahead, curious about what she'd come up with. Tyra tapped her chin, deep in thought, before saying, What do you call a human who attempts to teach humor to an alien? Alex raised an eyebrow. What? A fool, Tyra said with a completely straight face. There was a beat of silence before Alex burst out laughing. Okay, that was actually pretty good. Tyra's lips curved into a faint smile. It appears I am learning. Later that day, Alex and Sarah ventured into the bustling marketplace to observe more human interactions. Tyra was particularly interested in the concept of teasing, which she had read was a playful form of humor used to strengthen bonds. However, things didn't go exactly as planned. As they strolled past stalls of colorful goods, Tyra suddenly stopped and turned to Alex. You have unusual footwear, she said, gesturing to his scuffed boots. Are they an example of your planet's advanced technology, or merely a relic from an earlier era? Alex froze, unsure if she was being serious or joking. They're just boots. Comfortable ones. Tyra's expression remained neutral, but there was a glimmer of amusement in her eyes. I see. Then I shall refrain from judging your primitive fashion sense. Alex blinked, caught off guard. Wait, was that a tease? Yes, Tyra said, her tone matter-of-fact. Did I execute it correctly? Alex chuckled. Not bad, but teasing is supposed to be lighthearted. You sounded like you were genuinely criticizing me. Tyra said, nodding. I will adjust my tone for future attempts. Their conversation was interrupted by a merchant offering a sample of a local delicacy. Tyra eagerly accepted, only to cough and sputter after taking a bite. This is excessively spicy, she exclaimed, her eyes watering. Alex burst out laughing. You just discovered hot peppers. Welcome to the club. Tyra glared at him, though her irritation was softened by a hint of humor. If this is an example of human bonding, it is a most peculiar method. That evening, as they returned to Sarah's residence, she brought up a subject that had been weighing on her mind. Alex, there is something I do not understand. What's that? He asked, setting down the small bundle of goods he had picked up from the market. Humans often use humor to mask deeper emotions, Tyra said, her tone more serious now. Why is that? Alex hesitated, realizing the depth of her question. I guess humor is a way of coping. When things get tough, laughing can make it easier to deal with. Sarah considered his words carefully. Does this mean humans often feel vulnerable but choose to conceal it? Alex nodded. Pretty much. It's not always about hiding. It's about finding a way to stay strong. For a moment, Sarah seemed lost in thought. Then she said, I believe I am beginning to understand. Vulnerability is not a weakness but a part of connection. Exactly, Alex said, feeling a strange sense of pride in her realization. Tyra's gaze softened as she looked at him. Thank you, Alex. You have shown me that even in misunderstandings, there is clarity to be found. As the evening stretched on, Alex realized just how much he had come to value these moments with Syra. Her curiosity and determination to understand human emotions weren't just about learning. They were about bridging the gap between two worlds. And in the process, Alex couldn't help but feel that the bridge was drawing them closer together in ways he hadn't anticipated. The turning point. The sky over Kithara had turned a deep violet, with the twin moons casting silver beams across the sprawling crystalline city. Alex sat on a terrace overlooking the glowing skyline, his thoughts tangled as he sipped the alien equivalent of tea. Syra was late, which was unusual for her meticulous nature. She had asked to meet him for what she called a pivotal discussion, but her cryptic tone had left Alex on edge. Just as he considered calling her, Syra emerged from the shadows, her movements more deliberate than usual. She wore a flowing garment that shimmered in the moonlight, giving her an almost ethereal presence. Yet, her usual confidence seemed subdued. "I apologize for my delay," Syra said, her voice softer than usual. "I required time to gather my thoughts." Alex set his cup down, his curiosity piqued. "No problem. Is everything all right?" She stepped closer, her silver eyes reflecting the moon's. "I have been contemplating everything you have taught me, about emotions, connection, and vulnerability. And I have come to a realization." Alex leaned forward slightly, his heart thudding in his chest. "What kind of realization?" Syra hesitated, an uncharacteristic pause that spoke volumes. "You see, Alex, my people have long believed that emotions are a hindrance, a weakness that interferes with logic and progress. We have structured our lives to minimize emotional entanglements, prioritizing efficiency over sentiment." She glanced at the skyline, her expression thoughtful. "But now I see that this approach has cost us something invaluable. We have lost the ability to truly bond, to feel for one another in a way that transcends mere survival." Alex nodded, sensing the gravity of her words. "That's a heavy realization. What made you see it differently?" Syra turned to him, her gaze piercing. "You did." The air between them seemed to still as her words sank in. Alex felt a mix of surprise and confusion. "Me? How?" "You embody everything my people have dismissed," Syra said, stepping closer. "Your willingness to share your emotions, your ability to connect with others despite differences, it has shown me the strength that lies in vulnerability." Alex scratched the back of his neck, unsure how to respond. "I mean, I'm just being myself. I didn't think I was teaching you anything groundbreaking." "But you were," Syra insisted, her voice steady. "Through your actions, I have felt something I never thought possible, a genuine connection. And that connection has changed me." Syra gestured for Alex to follow her, leading him to a secluded part of the terrace where a small table held an intricate crystal orb. She placed her hand on the orb, and it began to glow, projecting a series of holographic images into the air. The images depicted scenes of Syra's people, stoic and distant, their interactions devoid of warmth or emotion. "This is my world," Syra explained. "A society that values efficiency over all else. Bonds are formed for practicality, not for affection. There is no laughter, no tears, no joy." The projection shifted, showing Alex and Syra laughing together in the marketplace, dancing in her residence, and sharing quiet moments of reflection. "And this," Syra continued, "is what I have discovered with you. It is profound." Alex felt a lump form in his throat as he watched the images. "Syra, I didn't realize this meant so much to you." "It does," she said, her voice almost a whisper. "And now I must make a choice." Alex frowned, sensing her inner conflict. "What kind of choice?" Syra took a deep breath, her composure slipping just enough to reveal her vulnerability. "If I embrace this new understanding of emotions, I risk alienating myself from my people. They may see me as corrupted. But if I return to my old ways, I will lose what I have found with you." Her words hit Alex like a freight train. He hadn't considered the implications of their interactions on her life beyond their personal connection. "Sarah, I don't want you to lose your place among your people because of me." "But that is the dilemma," she said, stepping closer. "You have shown me a truth I cannot unsee, and now I must decide whether to follow it." For a long moment, they stood in silence, the weight of Sarah's decision hanging in the air. Finally, Alex spoke, his voice firm yet gentle. "You don't have to choose between them and what you've discovered. You can bring this understanding back to your people, show them that emotions aren't a weakness. They're a strength." Zaira looked at him, her expression a mixture of hope and doubt. "Do you truly believe they will accept such a radical idea?" "I believe that change starts with one person willing to take the first step," Alex said. "And if anyone can do that, it's you." Zaira's lips curved into a faint smile. "You have more faith in me than I have in myself." "That's what friends do," Alex said, though the word friend felt inadequate to describe what he felt for her. Zaira hesitated, then reached out and placed a hand on his. Her touch was cool and deliberate, yet there was an unmistakable warmth in the gesture. "Thank you, Alex. Your guidance has given me the courage to face what lies ahead." As the night deepened, Alex couldn't help but feel that this moment marked a turning point, not just for Zaira, but for himself as well. What had started as a simple cultural exchange had grown into something far more profound, a bond that defied the boundaries of their worlds. And as they stood together under the twin moons, Alex realized that whatever came next, they would face it together. A bold declaration. The twin moons hung high over Kithura's crystalline city, casting their silvery light onto Xura's residence. Inside, the room was quiet save for the soft hum of alien machinery. Alex sat in one of the floating chairs, his mind a whirl of thoughts. Zaira had been unusually silent all evening, and he could sense the weight of something unsaid lingering in the air. She finally spoke, breaking the silence. "Alex, I have reached a conclusion." Her tone was resolute, but there was a flicker of vulnerability in her silver eyes. Alex straightened, his curiosity piqued. "What kind of conclusion?" Zaira hesitated, as if weighing her words. Then she stepped closer, her movements deliberate. "My people have always believed that emotions are a weakness, something to suppress and avoid. But my time with you has proven otherwise. I have felt things I cannot ignore: joy, frustration, hope, and something far deeper." Alex's heart skipped a beat. He wasn't sure where this was going, but the intensity of her gaze held him captive. "What are you trying to say, Zaira?" She took a deep breath, her voice softer now. "I wish to experience love, not as an academic study, but as a reality. And I believe you are the one who can show me what it truly means." Alex blinked, his mind scrambling to process her words. "Zaira, do not misunderstand me," she interrupted gently. "I do not mean this lightly. Love, as you have described it, is not simply an emotion. It is a bond, a connection that transcends logic and reason. And I feel that bond with you." The air seemed to grow heavier as Alex tried to find the right response. He had spent weeks introducing Zaira to human customs and emotions, never expecting her to take such a bold step. But as he looked into her eyes, he realized that her words were not impulsive. They were the culmination of everything they had shared. "Zaira," Alex began, his voice steady, "love isn't something you just decide to feel. It's something that grows, something that builds over time. And I think we're already on that path." Her expression softened, and for the first time, Alex saw something in her eyes he hadn't noticed before. Hope. "Then you do not reject my feelings." "I could never reject them," Alex said, a small smile tugging at his lips. "But I also think love is about taking risks together, learning as we go. It's not perfect, but that's what makes it special." Syra's lips curved into a faint smile. Then let us take this risk together. The declaration hung in the air, resonating with a weight that neither of them could ignore. Syra stepped closer, her cool fingers brushing against Alex's hand. The touch was light, tentative, but it spoke volumes. Alex couldn't help but chuckle, the tension in the room easing slightly. You know, for someone who's new to emotions, you're surprisingly good at expressing them. Syra tilted her head, her tone teasing yet genuine. I have an excellent teacher. The moment of levity was short-lived, as Syra's expression turned serious once more. Alex, if I choose to embrace this bond, I must also face the consequences it may bring. My people will not understand. They may see this as a betrayal of our values. Then we'll face it together. Alex said firmly. Change isn't easy, but it's worth it. You've already proven that emotions can coexist with logic. Maybe it's time your people saw that too. Syra nodded slowly, her resolve solidifying. You are right. It is time. The following morning, Syra invited Alex to a council meeting, an unprecedented move for someone of her status. The council chamber was a vast, dome-like structure made of shimmering crystal. Dozens of Elvari officials stood in neat rows, their expressions unreadable as Syra and Alex entered. One of the elders, a tall figure with dark blue skin and piercing silver eyes, addressed Syra. You have brought an outsider to this sacred chamber. Explain yourself. Syra stepped forward, her voice steady. Esteemed council, I come not to defy tradition, but to expand it. I have spent time learning from this human, Alex, and he has shown me a truth our people have long ignored, that emotions are not weaknesses but strengths. A murmur rippled through the chamber, the officials exchanging glances. The elder frowned. Emotions lead to chaos. They cloud judgment and weaken resolve. Only if we allow them to, Syra countered. But emotions also inspire courage, connection, and progress. Our people have stagnated because we fear what we do not understand. It is time we embraced a new perspective. The elder's gaze shifted to Alex. And what does this human have to say? Why should we listen to an outsider? Alex stepped forward, feeling the weight of their scrutiny. I'm not here to tell you how to live your lives, but I've seen how incredible your people are, your intelligence, your innovation. Imagine what you could achieve if you combine that with the power of connection. Syra isn't betraying your traditions. She's building on them. The chamber fell silent, the weight of Alex's words sinking in. Finally, the elder spoke. You make a compelling argument, Syra, but this path is not without risk. Are you prepared to bear the consequences? Syra's gaze didn't waver. I am. As they left the council chamber, Alex turned to Syra. That was intense. Are you okay? I am, Syra said, a small smile playing on her lips. Thanks to you. Alex felt a swell of pride and affection as he looked at her. They had taken the first step into uncharted territory. And though the path ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear: they would face it together. And as the sun rose over Cathara, casting its golden light on the city, Alex realized that this wasn't just a turning point for Syra. It was the beginning of something extraordinary for both of them. A new beginning. The golden light of the twin suns bathed the council chamber in an ethereal glow, illuminating the faces of the gathered Elvari officials. The air was heavy with anticipation, the tension palpable. Alex stood at Syra's side, his hands clasped behind his back, trying to mask the nervous energy coursing through him. He was an outsider in every sense of the word, yet here he was, part of a moment that could change the course of an entire civilization. Syra stepped forward, her silver eyes scanning the room with calm authority. She wore a ceremonial robe that shimmered like liquid starlight, a traditional Elvari garment symbolizing renewal and transformation. In her hands, she carried the crystalline orb, which now seemed to pulse with a gentle inner light, as though it mirrored the hope she carried within her. Esteemed council, Syra began, her voice steady but resonant. "Today, I come before you not as a diplomat, but as a seeker of truth. A truth I have discovered through the guidance and companionship of this human, Alex." A ripple of murmurs spread through the room, the mention of Alex drawing both intrigue and skepticism. He could feel the weight of their gazes, but he kept his focus on Xyra, knowing this moment was hers. "For generations," Xyra continued, "our people have viewed emotions as impediments to progress, distractions from logic and reason. We have suppressed them, dismissed them, and in doing so, lost something vital, our ability to truly connect with one another." She paused, allowing her words to settle over the room. Then, with a deliberate motion, she placed the crystalline orb on a pedestal in the center of the chamber. The orb began to glow brighter, projecting a series of holographic images into the air. The first image showed Xyra and Alex laughing together in the marketplace, surrounded by vibrant stalls and curious onlookers. "This is what I have learned from Alex," Xyra said, her voice softening. "Laughter is not a sign of frivolity, but of shared joy. It is a bridge that spans the divide between individuals." The projection shifted, showing the two of them dancing under the twin moons. "And this," Xyra continued, "is the power of vulnerability. To trust another, to share in a moment of uncertainty, is to forge a bond that transcends logic." Another image appeared, this one of Alex offering Xyra his worn notebook, a simple but deeply personal gesture. "Through this act, I learned the meaning of giving, not as an exchange of goods, but as a piece of oneself offered freely." The final image showed Xyra herself, her usually composed expression replaced with one of genuine warmth as she reached out to Alex. "And in this," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "I discovered what it means to feel, to care, to connect, to be truly alive." The chamber fell silent as the projections faded, leaving only the glowing orb on the pedestal. The elder who had initially questioned Xyra stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "These are compelling images, Xyra, but they are merely moments. What do you propose we do with this revelation?" Xyra met his gaze, her voice unwavering. "I propose that we re-examine our values, that we no longer view emotions as weaknesses but as strengths, that we allow ourselves to feel, not just for efficiency, but for connection." Another council member spoke up, her tone skeptical. "And what if this leads to chaos, to irrational decisions and conflict?" "It may," Xyra admitted, her honesty startling. "But it may also lead to innovation, unity, and growth. Without risk, there is no progress. And without emotion, there is no true understanding." The elder turned to Alex, his silver eyes piercing. "And you, human, why have you involved yourself in this? What do you stand to gain?" Alex stepped forward, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. "I didn't come here to change your culture or impose my own. But I've seen what Xyra has discovered, and I believe it's something worth sharing. Love, connection, emotions, they're not perfect. They're messy and complicated, but they're also what make life meaningful. If that's something your people can embrace, even a little, I think it could change everything." The room erupted into murmurs, the council divided between those who saw merit in Xyra's words and those who resisted such a fundamental shift in their way of life. For a moment, Alex feared they would reject her outright, dismissing her as an outlier. But then, one by one, the younger members of the council began to step forward, their expressions thoughtful. "Perhaps there is merit in what she says," one of them admitted. "Our society has stagnated. Maybe this is the change we need." The elder remained silent for a long moment before finally nodding. "Xyra, you have shown great courage. While I cannot speak for all, I believe your perspective warrants further exploration. Let us begin a dialogue, not to abandon our traditions, but to expand upon them." Xyra bowed her head in gratitude. "Thank you, esteemed elder. That is all I ask." As they left the chamber, Alex turned to Xyra, his heart swelling with pride. You did it. No, Kyra said, a small smile gracing her lips. We did it. For the first time in weeks, Alex felt a sense of peace. Their journey wasn't over. There would be challenges ahead, resistance to overcome, and bridges to build. But in that moment, under the golden light of the twin suns, he knew they had taken the first step towards something extraordinary. And as they walked side by side through the crystalline city, Alex realized that the bond they had forged wasn't just a bridge between two beings. It was a testament to the power of connection, the beauty of vulnerability, and the limitless potential of love.